Hello, and welcome to another Top 5 here on MacGuffinPodcast.com. I am Brandi.
And I'm Allen.
And today we're going to talk about our top 5 Hitchcock films.
For a podcast that's named The MacGuffin, you would think that, we kind of like Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah,
so.
kind of. And I think you and I are both particular fans of that sort of middle of his career streak of awesomeness after the silent films and before the more crazy experimental stuff. But I'm interested to see which of those awesome films make it onto our lists.
Okay. Did you want to start? Or?
Why don't you start?
Okay. My number 5 film is probably, I would say, Hitchcock's most fun movie, and it's North by Northwest, starring Cary Grant, Ava Marie Saint, James Mason, and Martin Landau. This is just like I said earlier, this is just a really fun movie to watch. It's that classic, guy who is mistaken for, his identity and everything. Cary Grant, pretty much throughout the entire movie just doesn't know what the heck is going on. He's like being chased by these spies. Yeah. There's this woman that, is trying to help him out. He doesn't quite get why. Lots of fun. Great set pieces, obviously, like at the end with Mount Rushmore and there's that famous crop duster and everything.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I love a good innocent guy pulled into a plot he doesn't understand kind of movie, and this is definitely like pretty much the ultimate of that.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and great last shot. A lot of great secret messages right there.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
Yeah, very subtle.
Very subtle.
Very subtle. So.
All right. Good. All right. Well, my number 5 is one that stars an actor who I know I've talked about how much I love him before, and that is Joseph Cotten, and the film is Shadow of a Doubt from 1943, in which Joseph Cotten plays a mysterious uncle to Teresa Wright, who is an actress that nobody talks about anymore, who did some really lovely stuff in the 40s. She was also in The Best Years of Our Lives and Little Foxes, a bunch of great stuff. He is her uncle, and he may or may not also be a serial killer of widows. It's basically, it's a mystery in that sense, but you find out with a good amount of time to spare whether or not he's really guilty, and then things develop from there. And it's a really interesting structure, and it's just it's a great cast. Yeah. I think it's one that is a little bit less well known from that period of his in the 40s, but is really a great movie.
It's definitely interesting how you have this main character, the girl, who like totally looks up to this guy, and she has to fight these all these clues about who he really is and everything like that. It's a great really good movie. Great performance by Joseph Cotten. So,
for sure.
Moving on to my number 4. My number 4 film stars Farley Granger and Robert Walker, and it is Strangers on a Train.
Great movie. Not on my list. Great movie.
Idea about having these two guys who don't know anything about each other. Well, I mean, Farley Granger is like this famous like tennis player, but they don't know each other personally. They switch murders. Although one of them is serious about it and the other one isn't. So you have this crazy like tension between the two. Farley Granger being put in this crazy position of having to, do a murder, but not wanting to. Great climax
another
at the
great
fair.
set piece with the carousel.
Yeah, the carousel. The guy that actually went underneath the carousel actually literally went underneath the carousel. So to watch that is just amazing.
It's a great stunt.
Great movie.
All right. Let's see how many times we can say the word great.
Yeah, it's going to be
it's all
key
great.
word today. Yes.
All right. My number 4 is an interesting film that we have talked about on a list before once, and that is Rear Window, which we talked about when we talked about films all set in one place. I mean, Jimmy Stewart, Grace Kelly, Thelma Ritter, just an amazing little cast in this apartment together, looking out on the courtyard where there may or may not be murder going on.
Yeah.
Diabolical murder.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked about this before. There are a few things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about it right now because we might be talking about it later.
Oh, we're just going to keep talking about
Yes.
it.
So moving on
All right.
to my number 3 Hitchcock film. It is probably one of his most famous films, if you can say that about one particular Hitchcock movie, and it is Psycho from 1960, featuring Anthony Perkins as the iconic killer Norman Bates. I mean, yeah, sorry. I mean, well, if you don't know the twist of that movie, it's like, come on now, where have you been the last 50 years or whatever? But anyway,
It's a joke.
okay. So, I mean, what else can you say about this movie? I mean, it's on our list of the top 31 horror movies. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I mean, it's the first of so many things. You have the twist in the identity. You have the famous psycho switch in the middle. The crazy, shower scene. I mean, it goes on and on.
And I mean,
so.
what doesn't get talked about as much is that it was really a landmark film as far as what you could get away with showing on screen. There was stuff that had never been shown before, really as basic as like her using the toilet. Like this was like
monumentous.
And I think it was like to flush paper like that she tore up or whatever, but it was like scandal, even more. And then the implied nudity in the shower scene and everything else. It's just an important film for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
All right. My number 3 is also on our top 31 horror films, and that is The Birds, which is, to me, one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. It is because of this movie that I'm afraid of birds. I'm just gonna say that I am the person who, if I'm downtown and a pigeon flies towards me, I'm I get laughed at the bus stop a lot. But it's also just this is a really interesting film because not that much happens in it. They just kind of they're hanging out on this island, and then there's a lot of bird attacks, and yet it's fascinating the way that the different characters react to this very real thing that's happening. Some of them are super in denial, and
I have to say, I do think the film has kind of aged a little badly, especially in terms of the special effects of it. But I mean, it's still great. It's highly influential. I mean, without the birds, you wouldn't have Jaws, right? So I mean, it's still great movie.
I think you can draw that line. So
yeah. So okay. So for my number 2 film, it is actually Rear Window.
Oh, more Rear Window.
So what else can we say about this movie that hasn't already been said?
This wasn't my number 1, but I think it's the movie I've watched of Hitchcock's the most. I've watched it a lot of times because there's always something else to see with all of the mini storylines that are going on. Mini storylines,
the relationship between James Stewart and Grace Kelly. I mean, the fact that James Stewart is injured and is in one place, and he's trying to solve this mystery that's all the way on the other side of the courtyard. It's, very, highly original, great technically. I mean, we can go on and on about that movie.
Really, I mean, it's pretty much perfect.
Yeah,
so
it is. So.
There's really, watch it if you've never seen it. My number 2 is from 1940. It is the only Hitchcock film that ever won Best Picture, and that is Rebecca. I absolutely freaking love this book, which is by Daphne du Maurier, and she's the same woman who wrote the story that The Birds is based on. And the movie is very close to it, except for some things that they kind of change at the end because it was too scandalous for the time. The movie and the book open with the same line, which is actually what I'm planning for my next tattoo. If you have any idea how much I love this book,
wow.
I'm getting the opening line of the book and the movie tattooed onto me. And which is, last night I dreamt we went to Mandalay again. Very famous opening line, and great performances here from Laurence Olivier, Joan Fontaine, Judith Anderson as the evil Mrs. Danvers, who's sort of one of, I think, the great villains of that era in film, not just Hitchcock, but all of it.
Wow.
And I love this movie. I love it.
Unfortunately don't love it as much as you do.
You're not going to get a tattoo?
No, I'm not going to get the tattoo, unfortunately. I know this was the only film that won Best Picture. I just could not get into the story. I watched it once and it was just
great.
left my mind.
I love anything with that sort of like gothic. Daphne du Maurier, I love all of her books. So
the look of it was great. Technically it's fine, but the storyline, I don't know. It just didn't grab me. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, let's go to my number one.
Let's go.
My number one film. The way I kind of reacted to this movie was kind of the same way that audiences, reacted to it. I didn't really quite understand what it was about at first, but as I've grown more accustomed to it, it's definitely, without a doubt, my favorite Hitchcock, and it is Vertigo.
Okay.
Starring James Stewart once again.
In defense. Yeah,
Wait 1 second. I gotta say why I like it, right?
I was just gonna explain that we have differing viewpoints on this one.
Okay.
Not
well,
that I don't
to me,
like it, but...
I think this is the most personable of Hitchcock's films. I think it's so I can't even talk about it. There's so many things to talk about. I actually wrote a piece about this film on MacGuffinPodcast.com that you should go check out.
You and I got into it on the comments a little bit, I think, on that one. So
yeah, it's a great mystery film. The first half, you think it's one way. The second half, it's completely different. I can go on and on about this film.
I definitely don't think it's a bad film at all. I just don't understand why everyone thinks that it's Hitchcock's masterpiece, because I think he has so many films that are a lot better.
I'm not going to argue that, he has a lot of other masterpieces, because he does, but I think the reason is that it's so closely to his own obsessions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He was weird.
He was the most controlling of directors, and that's totally reflected in the way that James Stewart's character is in that movie. So
yeah, which is a little disturbing for me. But again, you can see our thoughts at the website.
Yes.
My number one, and this is my number one after the movie I just said I'm getting permanently marked on my body, so that gives you any idea about how much I love this movie. It is from 1946, and that is Notorious. God, I love this movie. I think I've said before, just basically if you're ever gonna watch any movie, you should watch Notorious instead, because it's so good.
Okay, I can go with that.
Really
yeah,
is.
Absolutely.
And it's got the classic MacGuffin plot device in this, radioactive uranium, whatever material that they're supposed to find, that they eventually find hidden in the wine bottles in the cellar and stuff. But Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman together, you cannot beat that. You can't beat it at all. And great performance from Claude Rains as well, as the Nazi that they're sort of trying to uncover. He's hiding out in Brazil. He's got this whole ring of things that he's doing. She's an undercover agent who marries him, but she's got a past of her own that Cary Grant can't quite deal with.
Right.
And it's phenomenal.
Okay, now I totally agree with you. This is one of Hitchcock's greatest films. Technically, it's amazing. Great chemistry between the leads. I don't know how you can knock Vertigo and then praise Notorious when the dynamics in Notorious is pretty much the exact same as Vertigo, especially in terms of the female characters in there.
No, I see what you're saying for sure, because there's a lot of things said about Alicia in the film that are problematic from sort of gender perspective. I guess because it's earlier, and because it seems to come out of the situation and out of the characters more than just that, those themes feel very shoehorned into Vertigo for me. I just don't understand where that character's obsession comes from at all. It just doesn't really work for me.
Anyway, I guess we'll have to stop it here. This conversation could keep going.
It probably will.
If you have any thoughts about what we just said, or if you have any Hitchcock films that you want to talk about, again, there's a whole bunch of Hitchcock movies out there. We didn't even talk about The Silent or The British Times.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other great stuff. Some of his early stuff is really interesting.
Yeah, so hit it up on MacGuffinPodcast.com, and we will catch you guys later.
Bye.